Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Westworld Season 3 Episode 8 Thoughts video. Just finished watching the season finale of Westworld on HBO, and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts on the episode. So in this episode, we finally get the conclusion, obviously, to the full season. This season, we've been building up to figuring out what is Dolores' plan for humanity. Does she want to kill us all? Does she just want to tear apart the system? What exactly does she want to do? And so this episode, obviously, we're getting to the kind of conclusion of, well, not kind of, we get to the conclusion of that with it being the season finale. We start off the episode with Dolores being in a tough spot, having just had her arm cut off and like just a whole lot of damage done to her in the last episode. But we see that Cal's able to, recover her sphere, or her pearl, and able to take that and then with instructions from Dolores's VR, get her back into her old body, which I liked. I liked that they brought that back as a kind of fun little tie. I did think about that before too. At the beginning of the season, in the first episode when we see her get injured, I'm like, hey, we've seen you be able to take shots before, so that was an interesting thing that they did bring it back, her original body, as it were, with the different framework, not the 3D printed body, but the one that was like originally built by Arnold. And so I really enjoyed that kind of like throwback of it, and the fact that she kind of plays out this whole episode in that original body that we first kind of met her in. So that was a fun little thing. Another fun actually thing, host related, was we got another host from Westworld popping up in this with a Dolores, or as a Dolores copy, which was Lewis, which was a fun one. That was the guy who was, being dragged around by William in the first season, or the Man in Black in the first season. So that was just a fun little tie. I like that they keep throwing that in this whole season. Just little ones like, oh yeah, Dolores remembered to print off this body and printed off that body and this one and that one, and then she threw her own pearls into all of them, or copies of her own pearls into all of them. But yeah, so that was a fun little thing. And but yeah, so she gets her old body back, and then they have to go off and try and get the strategy into Robon so that the whole system shuts down, I guess. But that was the other thing that was kind of clear when I'm unclear a little bit when you start off. But that's the thing, what they're trying to do is make it unclear exactly what Dolores's ultimate plan is for humanity. Is she just trying to tear down the system? Is she trying to actually make everyone kill themselves? Is she trying to bring about the end of civilization? So I like that we spend this kind of episode with not the whole episode, that they're trying to get that strategy to implement it, but they don't really tell you straight up what she's planning. What exactly is Cal going to be like? Is he going to be a leader of something, or is she just kind of playing him in order to get her own plan to end humanity? So I really like that we're going to spend this episode exploring that, and like we start to bring up almost even more of a tension actually between Cal starting to question this plan, or questioning questioning her motives, especially after he puts her back together, or puts her pearl back into the new body, and he's kind of questioning what her motives exactly are. And she even told him, like, don't question my motives, I won't question yours. And it was a little like, oh snap, she called him out on that. But I just thought that was a little bit fun. But yeah, some more interesting things we kind of learned in this episode, which I enjoyed. We learned a little bit more about Cal's background in this, and a little bit more why Dolores picked him out of everybody. And we see a little flash, and we learned that the army trains soldiers at Westworld, which makes sense. That seems like a very actually practical thing to do. Very practical use of Westworld would be to train military soldiers and law enforcement personnel. So we learned that he had actually been to Westworld, which is, I think, something we all kind of maybe suspected. That's why I've always suspected that she's known a little something about him, like her. But we hadn't had it confirmed yet, so it was fun to kind of see that scene, and then the connection of why she picked him, and like seeing that like his time at Westworld, he being there for a training thing, and he ends up not being as we learn at the end of the episode, he shows that he chose to be, it shows that he chose to be good in a sense, or chose to make a choice in a sense. And so anyways, so that little tie was interesting to discover, seeing that he had been to Westworld, and that even, again, spoilers if you haven't watched the episode, but we learned at the very end of the episode that Dolores in fact was one of the hosts that he had saved, and that makes the connection to this whole thing through the season, why he felt this extra connection to her, because he's like, kind of recognize you, don't I? So that was a fun little thing we learned in this episode. Throughout this episode, I kind of suspected as soon as they mentioned the Westworld connection, I was like, oh yeah, he definitely saved her before. That's what this was. Especially when you see the soldiers making these comments, and you're like, well, yep, I know what he's gonna. Well, I hope I know what he's gonna do at least, and he does. So that was just a fun little an interesting part that we got added to it. Some other fun things in this episode, we see Bernard and Stubbs, get attacked kind of by William. William shoots Stubbs, and then we see Bernard, flick on his thing and then just bitch slap William around a little bit before the cops show up, and that ends up being Lewis, who ends up helping it, or not Lewis, Lawrence, who ends up helping Bernard for like a second. But that was a fun little thing to see. One thing I did think about Bernard in this episode was we got a whole lot less of him this season than I thought we would. We didn't he hasn't done a whole lot. He went and got William, and he went and got Stubbs, and then he got William. And that's pretty much been about it. But so yeah, that's been kind of interesting. It was just an interesting thought I had. I was like, okay, we didn't get too much, but we also get set up in this season, or in this episode, that he's probably gonna have a pretty big role in next season, especially since, again, most spoilers. I know I'm all over the place, people, but again, another spoiler. Dolores seems to be dead, so it seems like maybe that's why we had a bigger focus on Dolores this season, and maybe she's not going to be as central a character. I know I'm saying maybe because I'm like, this is Westworld. You can print off people all the time. You can bring back anybody, a little kind of, not technically, but you can. Like I was just saying before, we've had all the guest hosts from the other seasons popping up in this episode with Dolores's Dolores's copies in them, and so it's possible we'll see a Dolores body with somebody else's copy in it potentially in the future. I'm not going to take any kind of possibility away from the future of Westworld, because I'm like, she could be back, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'd be okay with it. I would like it. Some other things about this episode that were kind of really interesting that I really kind of enjoyed, or just kind of sparked my interest. We see this one point that Hale seems to be haunting Dolores, which I thought was really cool. We see this little effect going on her eye, and she's seeing a digital version of Hale, and to me it seems like she's haunting her. That was the exact words I wrote down, which is is Hale haunting her? Is this some kind of digital haunting of some kind? Is Hale's still that part was a little unclear to me. I was like, what? How's Hale still around? I forgot exactly how her story ended. But so that was a fun little thing though to see. It was seeing Hale, having this kind of control over Dolores, and then especially since Hale is Dolores, but not. And so that was a fun little thing to see them interact, being like, I am you, of course. Well, if you tried to put a failsafe on me, why would you not suspect that I would try to do the same to you, since we are both us? And I was just like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Good job, Hale. Smart way to think that through. But at the same time, are you? So I'm sure that's another reason why I'm like, is Dolores fully dead? Because her Hale ghost seems to be out there somewhere still, unless that was just a part of maybe Dolores's memories. That was the part that was a little unclear, because it did seem like she was being hijacked, because then she gets frozen, and that's when she's captured by Sirach. So I was like, okay, we're gonna see that pop up again. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I'm curious, another thing we didn't see in this episode is well, what about the rest of the Dolores copies? Are they still kicking around? Do they not technically count as Dolores's now, because there was the main Dolores and everyone else was copies, so they weren't technically Dolores. They're more kind of drones of her. I don't know. That'll be a thing we'll have to probably explore more next season. That's another thing about actually this episode did leave me with quite a few questions. This was a short-ish season, not short for Westworld, but short season not even short season for TV. 8 episodes isn't that bad, but I could have used another couple episodes just to maybe expand on a couple stories. Like I said, Bernard we didn't get a whole lot of action with, and the Hale thing got left in the air a little bit. William's character, just like I said, he was one that we got a big chunk of one episode with him, and since he's been hanging out with Bernard, we haven't got a little much with him, which has only been a couple episodes, I guess. But it was just a little, I felt like, again, I thought we were going to explore more with him, but I think again, him, Bernard, so William, Bernard, I think they were getting set up for bigger roles next season, because we see William going goes back to the world, into some hotel, and he's talking to some businessy guy about getting his money back in his jets, wanting to find out where all the Delos properties are across the world. And I'm like, ooh, are we gonna watch him hunt down some hosts? I'd be okay with that. That'd be a cool kind of part. I'd be like, I thought we were gonna get that a little bit more with him already. Maybe like at the beginning of this season, I thought that what we were gonna follow him doing mostly, or something like that. Him trying to like track down Dolores or something. So I'm excited if that's the direction they're gonna take William's character next season, to go down the road of like hunting down what the different Delos properties that they have around the world, the different Westworlds that they got kicking around, and going and just trying to wreck all of them. But I'm also curious if they'll end up doing some annoying thing where they just like, we don't see him do it. It happens off camera or off season even. Like, so we come next season to the 4th season, and then it'll be like, oh yeah, William already did all that stuff. It happened in between. We'll flash back once or twice, maybe give you a montage. So I hope they don't do that, and that maybe that's the focus for his character next season. Because like I said, I felt like it was a very quick kind of story for him. But I guess that's the problem. 8 episodes, and they've got at least how many main characters we're going to throw out there, right? So you got Dolores, you got Maeve, you got William, you got Bernard, and then you can even throw them on the bad guys in the Sirach. So you got 4. So I guess they each almost got like, won't really get like a full episode, like 2 full episodes each if you try to average out. So it's really tough to, I guess, balance all the different storylines. This season was mainly obviously focused around Cal and Dolores. Even forgot to add Cal in that list that I just said before. But yeah, so I'm all over the place. What else? Some of the things I liked about this final episode, the season finale of Westworld season 3. We see Maeve, doing her, I want to say typical thing, but changing her mind a little bit, like she did, as she tends to do, which is her prerogative. That's the point. She has a choice. But so yeah, it's like that we see her. We see Maeve and Dolores finally able to kind of connect via their minds and have a little conversation, and Maeve's able to finally come to the understanding of what Dolores is trying to do, which I think we've all been trying, or at least I've been trying to do this whole time, which is is she trying to like save humanity in her own unique way? Is that what she's trying to do, or is she trying to destroy them? And it is that she's trying to save them by by destroying the system that contains them, that keeps them from being free, that that blocks out the beauty and locks in the disarray, as she refers to a lot. She says she chooses to see the beauty in things a lot, which just made me kind of laugh a little bit, because I'm like, you shoot a lot of people for wanting to see the beauty in things. You don't see the beauty in life apparently, but okay. I'm not going to get into too much semantics, but that was just interesting. But yeah, so it was interesting to see then, Maeve have this change of heart once she kind of learns exactly what, Dolores has kind of experienced and what her perspective is on it, and that, she's trying to focus more on the beauty, and I think everyone assumes that she wasn't focused on that. So I guess Maeve telling her or Dolores telling Maeve helped her with that. But yeah, so then we end up seeing Maeve turning on Sirach after he erases Dolores, which I was just like, oh, that's a cold way to kill somebody. You're just gonna erase all your memories one by one until you're gone. And I thought at one point, I was like, oh, is she gonna sneak into Rubicon? Is that what's happening? Is this one of these like backdoor type of things where you think she's getting deleted, but she's actually getting uploaded into the thing? And so for a second I thought that's what happened, especially when they're like, oh, she gave you control. And I was like, or when the system wasn't responding to Soraka for a second, I was like, wait, did she upload herself? That'd be cool if we got Dolores in a big old electronic circle thingy. But it turns out no, she just was able to give the control to Cal, who then ends up saying, yo, system, kill yourself. And so he erases the system, shuts it all down, and the world is left in the chaotic place, which even more chaotic place than we found it. And so yeah, that was like the whole overall season. We also learned that this whole time that they've all been chasing Dolores, that Bernard's been the one who they actually were trying to find, and that the key to the Sublime, which is something I'm like, I don't think you guys referred to it as the Sublime before. I'm pretty sure it was referred to as the Valley Beyond. Well, I know that's what the hosts called it, I should say. But I don't remember it being called the Sublime before this point. Maybe I'm just missing something. But anyways, the key to the Sublime, the key to the Valley Beyond, where the other hosts from the second season, where all the hosts went and where their memories were, or where their consciousness were stored. And everyone's thought this whole season that Dolores had it, and that's the main reason why Maeve really has been on board with tracking Dolores down, like, is that she wanted her daughter she wanted to be reunited with her daughter who's in the Valley Beyond, the Sublime thing. But it turns out it's been with Bernard this whole time, which I was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, why would this one thing, like, as soon as they start going down there, I'm not saying I've suspected this the whole season, but I had a little suspicion of being like, I don't think she's got the key. Why does she need the key? Why would she keep the key if everyone's coming after her for just wanting the key? I guess she kind of would maybe need it, but she didn't. And so it was kind of interesting to learn that at this. And again, that kind of ties into why I think Bernard is going to be a bigger focus next season, or Bernard's character and his story is going to be a bigger focus next season, because he also learns at the same time in this episode that he does have the key after having gone and visited Arnold's wife and being kind of like reminded about the importance of memories and why certain memories are important to remember, to see the beauty in, as opposed to the pain of those memories. And this is like a lesson that Dolores wanted him to kind of remember, I guess, or to learn. And then that kind of refreshes the idea that he has the key in him, that Dolores had given it to him. And so we see at the end of this episode that we see him go into the Sublime. He puts on the headset, goes into the Valley Beyond to learn, as he says, what happens after the apocalypse. So I'm like, that's definitely what he's going to be doing next season, is we're going to be following him kicking around in there. But I'm like, but for how long? You were only at Westworld for one episode this season. So it's like, are you going to be in there for like the season premiere and that's it? I don't know. I'm curious to see where that goes, because I'm also curious, like, well, why? My thought this whole time is that the Valley Beyond is what they're going to use to either repopulate the world with hosts that then take all those hosts' consciousness that are in the Valley Beyond, in the Sublime, and then put them into host bodies in the real world once they were able to tear down the system. But I guess it doesn't seem like that was Dolores' plan, or doesn't seem to be Bernard's plan, at least. I don't know, maybe he doesn't seem to ever have a plan. He's always just kind of going along. But yeah, so that's where we end up leaving him off with. And yeah, then we kind of leave with pretty much the world just being in chaos, and me having, I don't want to say a lot of questions, but enough that I'm like, yeah, I need a season 4. I want to see where this world goes. What happens to this world after you guys kind of, lit the match and just kind of were like, yeah, this is the world now. You can be whatever you want. And it's like, okay, I'm kind of curious. I'm really curious to see if Cal's going to be coming back for another season, whether we're going to get some new character that will focus around, whether Dolores will pop in some new way. What else? I've written down some other questions, what I was curious about. Whether we're going to see Hale again, the Hale-Dolores combo thing a little bit more. Whether we're actually going to see William fighting all the all the Delos properties, because I'd really like to see him having to go into these different parks and then having to actually do it, as opposed to it being like a montage we get, or maybe like a flashback where we only see him have, or we see him just refer to it. He gets back at the end of the trip. I hope that's not it, but I'm gonna get way too far into that. Yeah. So other questions I had: where will the world be next season, and how long will we have to wait? Because we had a couple of year wait for this season, so I'm really curious to see how long it's going to be before we get the 4th season. They have confirmed that there will be a 4th season. I believe there's 4th and 5th, and that'll be the end of the show. From what I remember correctly, seeing the writers say that they had a 5 season planned out when they started the show. So I think we're going to be 2 more. It's confirmed at least 1 more season. So I'm really curious to see when we'll be getting that, especially with all this Corona stuff going on. It'll be like, when, I don't even know when they'll be able to get production started. So it's probably going to be a couple of years before we get another season, which is a little but I'm excited to see where this world keeps going. I really like exploring the world of Westworld. This one didn't feel like they were exploring as much of the ideas of identity and consciousness as much this season. This one was a lot more focused around what is the right way, or I guess this one was mostly focused around what is free will, and do humans have free will, and is it overrated? So I guess that was the focus of this one, but I would like to do a little bit more of the the consciousness stuff. Like, yes, we accept that the hosts are are alive and are conscious, but I mean, like, just exploring like what it means to be who and what. Like, I think with them bringing this Sublime and the Valley Beyond thing back, that we'll probably be exploring that a little bit more. Like, oh, is it worth leaving the Sublime to live in the real world? What does it matter? Who does it matter? I think we'll be exploring a little bit more of that, or I'm curious to explore more of those kind of concepts next season. So yeah, that's all my thoughts on the season finale of Westworld. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about the season finale and the third season of Westworld overall. Are you excited for first season? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for joining me today. Sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and have a good one.